how long ago, Jamil, did you schedule this?
Shoot, girl.
It was over a month ago, right?
Yeah.
A month, 2 ago, right?
Yeah.
And so we set up this, I'll call it an exclusive interview with you to tell us about what you do in your life and all that. And what do I find on Facebook? You went to Marywood Elementary yesterday and gave up that same story. So it's already out there in the wild.
Well, it's
And-
a little
and now-
different. The second graders, they have more, a little bit more thought process than we do. They really broke some things down. I absolutely love the way they think.
Well, I'm just disappointed. I thought we had an exclusive, but then you went and gave it all up to a bunch of kids.
He is territorial. He wants to have the exclusive, so you gave it to second graders.
I gave it to second graders.
Oh, wow.
Not happy.
I don't know if I gave it to them or they gave it to me, but
They so sweet.
Yes.
Oh, them babies.
their priorities were child care, medical care, and emergency care.
Aw.
Yeah.
Can we elect them?
You mean they weren't all about abortion rights or mortgage rates? That's that one in their mind?
Didn't care about where you came from, what you look like.
Oh, come on. We need to get them babies in now.
So I was like, okay.
All right, let's move on to the guest of honor today.
Yay.
A black, white, and blue in the South exclusive.
Well, I need to take that bumper down because I understand it's no longer an exclusive now. As a bunch of second graders got the scoop on us.
It definitely is still an exclusive.
All right, then we'll keep that in. We welcome Teresa Goodman to Black, White, and Blue in the South. A couple of quick facts, if I may.
Sure.
Teresa is the Executive Director of Community Initiatives Incorporated. She is a proud third-generation HBCU graduate, having earned both a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a Master's of Science in Individual and Family Development from South Carolina State University, and obtained a second master's degree. Were you collecting all five and you get a free one? Second degree in Management and Leadership from Webster University. She has served, among many things, I can't go into her full history, otherwise she wouldn't even get a word in, but she has served as the president of the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce's Nonprofit Council from 2018 to 2022. She's a Liberty Fellow in 2023 as part of the Aspen Global Leadership Network. In February of 2024, she was named one of Post and Courier's annual 12 Black People to Know publication. So I can now cross one off that list, and I got 11 more I need to go meet. She ran for school board last year in 2024. She is a wife and mother of a young son, and most importantly, a proud member of the Greenwood Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Amen.
So this makes like the 17th Delta
Don't
that
do that.
you brought into the show. How is this?
Well, I can't just help. I got to bring you greatness, right? So I don't have a
maybe
choice,
you
but
did.
if that's where it's at.
And that is where it is.
That's where
it's at.
There hasn't been a single alpha who's walked into this studio, but you bring only the deltas.
We'll
so I'm
work on that too,
just
but-
going to point that out. But also by way of introduction, before we actually listen to Teresa speak, I'm going to play a video clip of her
Okay.
when she spoke at the Greenwood County Democratic Party last
Oh,
year.
wow.
Yeah.
So here's a little clip of that speech.
Okay.
I've seen firsthand the incredible potential that exists within every student when they're given support, resources, and opportunities to succeed. From 1996 to 99, I had the opportunity to develop workforce training programs for teens aged 13 to 16 with JTPA. And those programs were designed to build on each young person's unique interests and capabilities. They ensured that they had the skills and the confidence to pursue a successful future, whether that was with college, a career, or contributing directly to our community. I learned through that experience that family support is important. Connecting with parents and guardians is crucial to helping our youth succeed.
Wow. I got emotional. How'd you like the music too?
The music was perfection. Thank you.
And
hear
so
that
was your
passion?
speech, by the
Yeah.
way. It was
Yeah.
20
Created a
minutes
vibe.
long. I remember you fielded questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fielded them. And that was right on the heels of that horrible shooting in a Georgia school.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to address some of that too. So,
Yeah.
with all of that said, welcome and thank you for joining our show.
And thank you guys for having me. This is really I think it is a great opportunity, not just to share, but to learn, to hear what's going on and hear your views. I appreciate the invitation.
Oh.
Well, now we have no idea what to talk about.
I know.
Actually, I think a
Okay.
great place to start, there's actually two topics I want to bring up today. And first is your work in the area in the nonprofit sector. So I don't think many people realize what a power player you are in that space.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a positive way. I don't mean that in a self-serving way. But you've started a lot of initiatives in this area, and you're managing them all. I'm actually surprised you're able to break away for a half hour to come speak with us. But let's talk about Community Initiatives Incorporated, because that's just the parent group of a number of other endeavors. So let's talk through that.
So community initiatives is what I like to call an umbrella. And under that umbrella, we serve. We serve individuals, we serve families. And we do that for the greater good of everyone. Even if you don't necessarily have a direct path to our services, you are affected by what we do.
When did it start up?
So 1997, there's an ad hoc committee at Self Regional Healthcare, because what was happening, they were having an influx of folks into the emergency room with non-emergent issues. And a lot of those folks spoke Spanish. The issue became, when you have a sign that says emergency, that's where people go. If they don't understand what that necessarily entails, that it was health, but for some, emergency is emergency, right? And so folks were going there needing things that weren't emergencies. And so their ad hoc committee got together. On that committee was our founder, Dr. Elizabeth Bethel. She was the head of the sociology and psychology department at Lander University. And Dr. Bethel said, I'll take this on as a grassroots effort. Let's figure out, and because of course research was her thing. But for her, it was an opportunity to find information, find causes, and then also let's figure out how we can address it and help people. And so there was a $5,000 grant attached to it.
It doesn't sound like a lot at all.
It was not, but what she was great at doing was bringing people together from the community. And so Dr. Bethel brought together our then mayor, Floyd Nicholson, his wife, Mamie. She went over to New Haven, where a lot of the folks who were coming into our community were living.
Okay.
And she said, hey, you don't rent all of these apartments and you have a problem on your hand. Let us get one of these smaller apartments, make it a community-based help organization. She got some nursing students from Lander University, one of which is still with us today as she's a doctor of nursing, Dr. Leslie Myers.
Oh, I thought she was still a nursing student. I was going to say, she better graduate already.
Listen, Leslie has been a phenomenal asset to community initiatives in her nursing career. And her specialty now is obstetrics and gynecology. And so she sees some of our expectant moms. Wow. But she's still with us. And so you have, from that, it developed our free clinic, La Clinica Gratis. And that was a place, and we named it La Clinica Gratis because at the time, we needed people to understand that we were a free clinic. It directly translates into the free clinic. And so we needed people to understand, here, this is where you can come if you need medical care. And so we had a couple of nursing students. I think they said we had no furniture. We had Dr. Gary Goforth was one of our founding members as well. And so these folks would come in and just see patients as best they could. Well, here's the caveat to that. There was a language barrier. So you had children who were coming with their parents as they were learning English to translate. One of those young children is still with us today as one of our certified interpreters. And so she's seen us through. When I joined Community Initiatives in 2013, she was our clinic manager. She later left to do full-time ministry, but Zarae came back and she's been a constant for us. And so we started off with just that medical practice, which was basically preventative care, just saying, take Tylenol for this is where you can go for that. The other thing that happened during that time is when folks came to be seen, they brought their kid. Because the kids were doing homework and they didn't have help and the parents couldn't help them because they didn't read English.
what do you attribute Greenwood as a destination for Hispanic community?
Well, I think it was just the South, as it was agricultural based, and there was a need for folks to come in and do some work, right? You had Edgefield that wasn't too far away, different things like that. And so it was an opportunity. But here's the other thing, is one thing, you go where other people you know are. And so I think that's not just for Greenwood, but anywhere. If you know someone and they say, well, such and such is in Greenwood, South Carolina now, then that becomes a safe place if you need to get out of the situation you're in.
Yeah.
And I know Bill is in Greenwood. Well, I'm going to go to Greenwood. And oh, yeah, by the way, now, Mrs. Brooks is there, so I'm going to go there too. So those are the things that happen. And I think that's why, we have a particular population. But I also think that's why a lot of places have a particular population.
Yeah.
So then out of that started what was then called the Homework Center. Is now Safe Haven after school and summer program, where we're helping children make sure that they're reading on grade level by, the time they get out. And so studies show third grade. And we do want to make sure that it's by third grade, but we have them 2 more years, so we say 5th grade. Because we're able to give them extra help. And then out of that, one of the things that I noticed along the way was we're catering to children who are in school. What happens before they get there? We always would hear stories of children who were struggling academically. Well, they didn't have the start they needed. And so in my mind, how do we give them the start? And so my brainchild was Toddler Learning Center, which is one of my favorite things ever that I've ever done in life.
Wow.
Because what we're able to do is give a sound, quality educational start to our 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and 4-year-old babies who otherwise may not have had access to quality childcare. And that is an issue. And so we have a sliding fee scale there. Some of our children go for free. Some pay a little bit. Some pay full freight. We've had a little bit of everybody, and we have a collaboration with Westminster Presbyterian Church to provide that, because if we are providing this at such a cost that we're not making money, we needed partners who understood they can't pay rent. They can't go out and buy a building because they're not making any money on this. And Westminster stepped up to the plate to say, we want to help our community. And this is how we choose to do it, because we also want to foster a learning environment for children. And so we've collaborated with them the last probably 3 years.
If you ask my pastor, Carolyn Dennis, who's the pastor of Westminster Presbyterian, which is where this Toddler Learning Center is located, she will get into tears every time she talks about it.
Wow.
Because it's been a dream of hers to work with and support young children in some manner. And so we had this large building that had a whole wing that was unused. And then there was a need in the community for a wing that needed to get used. And so a deal was struck, and that's where it's been. And I got to tell you, there is nothing to pick up your spirits like walking through that wing in the middle of the morning with 100 little kids all smiling and playing and being polite and looking at you in wonder. And it is such a positive environment.
Wow.
It's like if you're ever feeling down or stressed, I'm taking you for a little tour in that building. You will come out feeling right as rain, that the world is good, that life is sunshine and butterflies.
And there is hope yet, because on the worst day, if I have the worst day, I'm going to Toddler Learning Center that day. Because they will change your focus, and they'll make you understand what's important.
Okay, so I'm trying to stay on task and not jump ahead.
Okay.
But when you just named all of that, I automatically go to, how do you do it funding-wise? Where does the money come from to serve this underserved population?
Well, there goes the happy feeling we all just had.
I was trying to wait.
Yeah.
But
that's the next topic. I mean,
okay,
because you don't get all this stuff for free.
No, so let's talk about it, because that is a resource that is really important to if as a state, let me just go as a state, not just as a city, but if as a state, we really want to see South Carolina move up on the list from an academic standpoint, move up on the list from a mental and a physical health standpoint, and maybe not score so high when it comes down to, maternal disparities or any of those things. That is what you guys are in place and are doing. How are you doing that from a funding perspective? And I'm specifically looking at, if you had to break it down percentage wise, like, is this donations? Is this grant funded? Is this state money? Like, how does that look like? What does it look like?
97% grant funded.
Good gracious.
97%.
And other times that'd be fine.
Yeah,
Go back a few years and it's like, you can find the grants.
Sometimes what I'll say about grants, people call me all the time and say, I heard you write grants and I need a grant to do.
Yeah.
And I often tell them grants are not as cut and dried as you would think. There's a time that I remember in late 90s, early 2000s where you could write a grant to build a building. You would not dare do that right now. That's an automatic no.
Oh, wow.
And so there are ebbs and flows within grants. There are things people, get on board with right now. There are things that people support when you're talking about grants. Yeah. And so they're patterns, right? And so right now, I feel like we're in a pattern of, I'd say, how to be equitable without being equitable.
Yeah, got it. I know. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in that pattern now where you're right. And so some of our funders are people who are health driven. We are social determinants or drivers. Some people like to use drivers of health organization.
Yeah.
What I learned a long time ago is you don't go after funding with what's popular, because then you become an organization that's doing fly by the seat of your pants things. Right now, if this is popular, you're doing that. What we have to be is an organization that is centered on what is helping and what matters. It has to be research-based, evidence-based, because at the end of the day, I can write a grant and convince someone to give us money for that. Yeah. What I can't do is continue to write grants because it's the thing. Yeah. So the fluff is out for me. When I got to community initiatives, our budget was less than $200,000 a year. We're now at $1 million a year. That is a source of stress that I created for myself. Yeah. But at the same time, we also had about 6 to 8 employees, and now we have 30. And so you have to grow. You have to grow. And we still have people that nonprofit employees are amazing. They're superheroes that people don't realize, that are literally walking superheroes in their community because they're doing the jobs that a for-profit would have 2 or 3 people doing. Yeah. And so I'm HR. Yeah. I'm the janitor sometimes, and I'm the grant writer. And, I can be the counselor as well. I'm also the voice and the advocate. We can't pay anybody to do that.
Public relations.
Public relations every day. And so many of our employees do the same thing.
But you hear $1 million and you think, boy, that's a lot. But just imagine.
But it's not.
Imagine if La Clinica Gratis went away. What would be the impact to the community if it disappeared tomorrow or shut down tomorrow?
That's it right there.
The impact would be, because we serve Greenwood, Abbeville, Saluda, Edgeville, McCormick, and Lawrence counties, the impact would be an influx of people who now are going to be sicker, that are going to cost more across the board for a number of things. They're going to go to the ED when they're the sickest, which means more than likely they're going to have to be admitted into the hospital, and they don't have money to pay for that. Where does that come from?
And what would happen if Toddler Learning Center went away tomorrow?
Then what's going to happen is later on, when we're looking at 12th grade, down the road, and we're looking at, let's really get into it. When people are looking at those 3rd grade reports that they decide on that school to prison pipeline, when they decide how many prisons to build, it's going to be more. Yeah. It's going to be more.
And then even immediately you've got the parents who now don't have daycare. And those are the same parents that were either going to school to improve the situations in their life or going to work that they could now they can't work because they have to stay home and take care of it.
Exactly.
So all the things that they want the adults to be doing are now not able to do it.
Can't
take that away.
You can't do it.
Exactly.
So now you've taken me out of the employment field. I can't work. And because I can't work what I need to, the new ramifications for Medicaid, now I no longer have access to Medicaid or EBT. Those numbers have been reduced as well. I think one of the points that you mentioned, Teresa, is something that, we try to highlight, but I watch this. We are making instant decisions that will have like a domino effect later on, and you won't see that right away. Exactly. Right away, it looks okay. And I thought about all the programs that we know are under attack right now. Those are the programs that lay the foundation for the majority of the population to be sustainable. And if you start knocking away at those right now, you won't know it until 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And then you'll wonder, why is it that you have such an unsuccessful state?
Exactly.
our county, our city. But it's strategic to do things this way.
Let me share some quotes from a Politico article about the Trump administration's philosophy here. They wrote, "The Trump administration is mounting a sweeping offensive on America's nonprofit sector, deploying a blend of funding cuts, the elimination of tax benefits, bureaucratic paralysis, and even installing a small DOGE team to target organizations that challenge the president's agenda. The tactics include indirect measures like hollowing out entire grant-making agencies like AmeriCorps and USAID, and making federal personnel or contract cuts at other agencies so deep that groups can no longer access grants or loans. But there are also more direct efforts like visits from DOGE or USDA halting $500 million in deliveries to food banks." Here's a quote. This quote's going to make you mad. "Nonprofits have been running wild off the drunken, unchecked spending of the federal government that stopped on January 20th. We are no longer going to support organizations that stand in stark contrast to the mission of the President of the United States." And that was White House spokesperson Harrison Fields.
This is, okay, so Helen Keller and Ray Charles are both dead and blind, and they can see what is happening here. This is just a more organized approach that's being publicized to ensure that the gap between the middle class and what you would consider the upper class continues to widen. And what they're strategically doing is making sure that they take that middle class and push it further closer to the lower class. So you're talking about making sure that that top 1% remains that top 1%. And what you're doing is you want to attack nonprofit entities, grant writing entities, because those are the entities that have been servicing the population that you cannot let come up out of middle class and lower class.
So I want to ask you, Teresa, have you been running wild off of the drunken, unchecked spending? Is that how you've been able to grow your nonprofits?
I would say that that's probably one of the most ignorant statements I've ever heard in my natural life.
The show's still young here.
There's
We got another hour to go. It's early.
There's more.
And I say that because nonprofits are businesses.
Yeah.
Whether people realize it or not, we literally are businesses that don't sell anything. We just provide. We have to operate as a business. And the reason why I find that to be quite ignorant is because we have to submit to the government our 990. We have to submit to the Secretary of State our financial reports 990 and make sure that we are doing the work that we said we're doing. There is no way that I can get a grant without proving that we've done this work. So when you write a grant, what people don't realize is it has to be research-based. You have to have evidence. You can't write a grant and say, I really love people. And so because I love them, I want to take care of little children. Now give me $100,000. They're going to tell you a very sound no.
Yeah.
You're nuts.
Yeah.
What you have to do is not only be a business and prove what you're doing and make it relevant. It has to be evidence-based and you have to have outcomes. And without that, there's no money.
That would be a normal scenario. Have you found things different as of January 20th this year that you can provide the evidence base but still find the money is not available?
Yes.
Has that impacted you?
It's impacted everyone. I know especially medically based nonprofits have closed their doors. And that is because the money is not out there. So here's the thing. One of the things that happened with one of the federal orders said that there could be a termination for convenience, which means if you're out of the pocket of what they feel like you need to be doing, we can take your money back.
Subjective.
Exactly. So if you are talking about equity, if you are making things equitable for people, we can take your money back.
Yes.
If we don't like it. And it also says that if it does not align with administrative policies, that we can take this money back. So what nonprofits are doing now is trying to find money that does not fall up under that. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of that out there. Mm-hmm. And so now you have nonprofits going, we already were fighting for some of the same funds, but now you're really fighting for it.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if the whole stance to continue to separate classes, we know what that is classism. But if you look at what they're doing, They're only attacking those type programs. And I don't know if this is this administration's, one of their attacks to ensure that they do what they want to do with immigration. Because if they can cut off the lifeline to a particular demographics, then this isn't the place to come. This isn't the safe haven to come to.
Yeah, actually, that was a question I was going to ask. At the La Clinica Gratis, has there been any extra tension given, the ICE raids you see on the news across the nation and even in our state? Has there been any security precautions, or is it something you just don't talk about lest you make yourself a target?
Well, I'm going to be very honest with you guys right now, not at La Clinica Gratis, because the way it is shaped and the way we care for our patients, we don't allow that. Our patients know us. They've been with us. They trust us. Most of our patients have been our patients for 20 years, 10 years. They've been with us, and we've gone through an administration before when Trump was in office, where these type things came up, and we stood 10 toes down for our patients.
Yeah.
So they trust us. What I have seen is other organizations, their patient base has stopped coming.
Oh, wow.
When it is talking about immigrants, right? Mm-hmm. They have stopped coming. They don't show up. They're no longer there. Our patients know who we are, what we stand for, and what we're going to do. We're going to take the precautions to protect them.
Yeah.
And so they know it's a safe space. It's different. So when we started, we were La Clinica Gratis, and we served a particular demographic in order to help self-regional. What has happened now is, yes, our name is still La Clinica Gratis, but anybody who is uninsured can come. Anybody. We don't care what you look like. From, birth to death, we're going to see you, be you black, white, green, purple, yellow, if you are uninsured.
Yeah.
And we're going to give you good care. And I think what has happened with us is we've made a very sound, reputation in our community. And I believe in good trouble.
Yeah, no.
I believe in good trouble. And if I have to get into it so that people can get health care and live because they have a human basic right.
Well, we're going to switch topics here about some good trouble you got into recently. But before we hit that topic, being that you are a nonprofit organization, do you accept private donations from the population?
Yes, we do. And you can go to our website, www.myci.us. There is a donation button there, and we would take it. You can drop it by, or you can mail it to 212 Overland Drive in Greenwood, South Carolina, 29646.
Why did that just sound like a commercial?
It was a public service announcement we just heard.
That's a paid advertisement.
It is. We'll play that bumper at the beginning of every episode.
Yes.
But we'll also have a link to that in our show notes. So if you're not a show notes viewer, take a look now and make a small donation. They'll take anything. They're on my annual donation list because, when you know the people, you know the good work they do, and the hard times that are happening and are ahead, they are worthwhile.
And I want to add, too, we have lost this year over $250,000 worth of funding.
My goodness.
And when you're talking about having $1 million budget, that's a quarter of your budget.
That's a quarter of your budget.
And so what people have to realize is we're now having to make very hard decisions to keep our doors open throughout the remainder of this year. Yeah. And it's just not us. It's just not us. We've lost money, but there have been so many nonprofits and so many here in Greenwood that are struggling because they've lost that federal funding. We lost employees when AmeriCares was shut down.
I was going to say.
So things, it is evident, it is happening, and we are unfortunately not reaping benefits right now. We've also had patients. We've had patients who are struggling. And the thing about it is, I know that the focus sometimes is on communities of color, but we're not the only community that's losing.
Oh, no. But what's happening is the other communities
are now realizing that, wait a minute, this affects me too.
It's me too.
This affects me too.
So the Me Too movement has taken on a new identity because it is them too. Yeah. And I want this last thing, and then we can switch topics because it might lean into where you're going to go next. But I'm just curious to know from your perspective and sitting behind your desk, what is it that you need? Because this is a value to Greenwood and surrounding counties. So what is it that you and your organization need from the local, the county, the city, and the state level
We need transparency. Okay. We need people to be honest. We need people to share what their thoughts are and what they're going to support and what they're not. And we need opportunities. We need opportunities to fundraise. We need opportunities for people to know where to give. We need opportunities to speak truth to power and say, look, this is what it is, without being pigeonholed or mistreated or, ostracized because we're telling the truth of what it is.
I like it. Facts.
Amen.